Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Now we'll take up the gentleman at the jail, Brian Schrober.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Long time no see.
Okay. I thought, Mr. Schrober, you might be appearing from Missouri. Are you still in custody in Missouri?
No, Your Honor.
Good.
I was released from prison in Missouri on November 11th, and I had this warrant over here. So I was picked up by St. Louis County, Missouri, waived extradition, and was brought over here on Friday evening. If I may speak about the history of this case was previously filed under a different case number last year. I sat here for a couple months. You reduced my bond to $5,000. I was able to work it out through a bondsman for 10%. I had the warrant in Missouri for my prison case over there. I had an extradition hearing. I waived extradition. I went to Missouri. I've been in custody since I've been over there. I believe it was this past June. You dismissed the case, something to do with the labs not being back. The Miss Gillette refiled the case in July. We noticed on the portal online that it was refiled, and I had a first appearance scheduled for August. So I did everything in my power. I went to my case manager at the prison. She contacted records. Records said the court clerk had to contact the prison. I got on the phone to my family. My family contacted the Greenwood court clerk, notified them. Greenwood court clerk notified the prison. And the prison told me, we don't do Zoom. We don't have Zoom. All we have is Blue Jeans. Despite my arguments about an app on their desktop, I wasn't able to make first appearance. I did send a letter of incarceration over from DOC, which on the portal, it shows that the court's received on the 8th of November.
All right, Mr. Trober, I do have a copy of the complaint in front of me, complaint and information filed July 16th of 24. And in count one, the state is alleging unlawful possession of the controlled substance methamphetamine, a level 5 drug felony, which carries a sentence, if you were to be convicted, 10 months up to 42 months in prison and up to $100,000 fine. It is alleged that that crime occurred on August 5th of 2023, as you said, over a year ago. And count two, you're accused of theft of a 2006 Ford F-250 with a value between $1,500 and $25,000. It doesn't allege who the owner was, but it's filed as a level 9 person felony, which means if you were convicted, you could serve anywhere from 5 to 17 months in DOC and pay up to $100,000. In count three, you're accused of unlawful possession of a vape pen, rolling paper, spoon, and metal container for the purposes of storing or containing, ingesting a controlled substance. That's a B non-person misdemeanor. That means the sentence would be to the county jail and could be up to 6 months. On count four, you're accused of driving while suspended. This is a B misdemeanor. The fine is anywhere from $100 to $1,000, and the sentence could be up to 6 months in the county jail. Count five is charged as operating a motor vehicle without proof of liability insurance, another B misdemeanor. Its minimum fine required, if convicted, is $300 and could be again up to $1,000 and 6 months in jail. Count six accuses you of unlawful possession of the controlled substance marijuana, or THC, and it's a class B non-person misdemeanor. 6 months possible jail sentence, $1,000 possible fine. Count seven accuses you of transporting in a moving automobile a container of, well, 2 bottles of Fireball, an alcoholic beverage, and that is charged as an unclassified misdemeanor. The penalty can be anywhere up to $200 in fines and anywhere from 30 days to 6 months in jail. In count eight, you are accused of operating a vehicle that was not registered on the highway. or roadways of the county. This is an unclassified misdemeanor. It has special penalties. The fine could be up to $2,500. The sentence could be 30 days to 6 months. Count 9, you're accused of speeding 86 in a 65-mile-per-hour construction zone. This is a scheduled fine. It does not carry jail time. The construction zone doubles the fine. So those are the charges you're looking at. And are you going to be hiring an attorney or applying for a court appointed?
Your Honor, I'll apply for court appointed, and I ask that Richard Paul be reappointed since he's familiar with the case and I've already worked with him on it.
All right, Ms. Gillette, what has the state to say about this unusual predicament?
He's had a lot of holds everywhere. He just has a lot of different cases that have been everywhere. I do have a wonder if he's gonna grab more cases or run. I mean, he's had holds from everywhere to have to go take care of, and that shows a long history of failing to comply with bond conditions and failing to appear. I would ask for a $40,000 cash or professional surety.
Your Honor, if I may speak.
Go ahead.
I was previously incarcerated in this case here in Greenwood County. My bond was initially set at $25,000. I sat in jail for some time. You had reduced it to $5,000, and that's what I was able to post on through a bondsman. The cases that she's talking about, as far as everywhere, were Wyandotte County, Johnson County, and then Clay County, Missouri, which are all within a 30-mile radius of each other, except for Shawnee County, which was 40 minutes down the highway. So it's not as if I'm just all over the place. It's really within a 30-mile travel radius. Last time we seen each other, you agreed that 5,000 was sufficient, and I posted on it. Since I've been,
But then you failed to appear again.
only because I was in custody. You knew.
That's not generally a very good excuse.
Your Honor, this is my first time ever having a failure to appear while I was in custody. I've never been on bond in any of my cases and violated the terms of my bond. I've never violated any terms or conditions of any of my bonds anytime.
Ms. Gillette, are you seeing any failures to appear on there?
Judge, not breaking the law is a condition of bond. He's
Say that, please.
had cases all over the place on these cases. He's had Wyandotte, Shawnee, Johnson, Greenwood, Missouri. His case history goes back to when he was a kid. His criminal history goes back to when he was a kid. I think the earliest I've seen is 2008 and 2007. And it's been consistent except for when he's in jail. And he's been in another state waiting to be extradited back to Kansas. I'm asking for a $40,000 cash or surety bond. Him saying how many times he's been in jail and where all he's been had to move to take care of probation violations, getting his cases finished, getting his cases pled across 2 states is not helping me want to change. I initially wanted to say $50,000, but I said 40 instead because he's here finally.
Well, thank you. What I'm going to do is set it at 40,000, Mr. Trober.
Your Honor, may I ask what circumstances have changed since my last bond modification hearing?
Well, what has happened is you failed to appear,
Because I was still incarcerated.
and Ms. Gillette has just given me a list of cases that I may or may not have considered last time.
Ms. Gillette
The
was very,
sheriff has had to incur the expense of sending equipment and manpower to Missouri. So I'm gonna leave it at 40,000, and then you contact Mr. Paul, and he may be able to convince me to modify it, but that's where we're gonna start.
yes, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Deputy, if you'll make sure he gets the opportunity to call his attorney. Of course, let Missy check though, make sure Mr. Paul will take it and that she'll have to reappoint him.
Okay.
All right, thank you. But by the end of the week, this is Tuesday, certainly by Thursday or Friday, you'll know for sure where you stand on that. We are on the record in 2024 CR 132, State of Kansas versus Brian Lee Tober, County Attorney Jill Gillette for the state. The defendant appears in person, in custody, and with counsel William McClendon. Mr. McClendon, how does your client wish to proceed?
Judge, I filed a motion for bond reduction, I believe yesterday, or it might have been Wednesday evening, but not approved till yesterday. And I was wondering if we could be heard on that.
You can be heard on that, but before we proceed to it, what about his preliminary hearing?
Judge, I'm even newer to this case. I think I was appointed earlier this week. But Mr. Trober's been pretty proactive in trying to be able to get out on bond, and that's why we're here today.
All right, the matter will be continued to 1:30, December 20th.
And
Mr.
technically, Judge, we had it set for a different date, and we just put it on here for the bond motion.
Okay, all right, bond motion only. Go ahead and proceed, Mr. McClendon, on your motion.
Judge, as you're probably aware of this case, probably more than even I am, this case was previously filed and then it was dismissed. Sorry, you keep moving around on my screen. Then it was dismissed without prejudice, without prejudice. And so the defendant lost his bond. He lost his attorney, which was Mr. Paw. And then due to his incarceration, he wasn't able to show up when this case was first issued. So he has a failure to appear. I believe his bond set at $40,000. His prior bond in the old case was $5,000, and we'd be asking for a bond reduction down to $5,000.
Was it
Here
charged
today.
originally as a felony or misdemeanor? That prior
I don't
case
know,
you're
Judge.
talking about?
Judge,
It
it
was
was
originally a felony.
previously. We were waiting on the KBI labs. And since the KBI labs weren't in yet, you dismissed it without prejudice. It's one of those cases that got caught in that time period where the labs were very far behind because of the move of Pittsburgh.
Okay,
And then the labs came in 1 or 2 days after the dismissal without prejudice. And so I refiled. And by that time, he was in the Missouri Department of Corrections and actually appeared from there at one point, or we tried to get him to appear from there at one point, and we had to end up waiting with a no bond hold.
all right, the motion to, where are you living when you're not in custody, sir?
Wichita, Kansas.
And with whom?
A friend of mine,
Who's your friend?
Marcus
Marcus.
Smith.
Does Marcus have any criminal charges?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you ever lived with him before?
Well, I had leased an apartment in Wichita before my arrest here, and he was able to take over the lease.
Is he a drug dealer, a drug user?
No.
Well, since he appeared before on the bond, as I understand it,
Well, we had a lot of issues with Mr. Trober. Mr. Trober is the one who had cases in Wyandotte, Johnson, everywhere in Missouri. He hadn't finished his cases, had multiple cases, was missing those cases, had warrants, had tons of holds. We just got him back from the Missouri, or I believe it's Missouri Department of, but he's been all over. So we set it at 40,000 cash or professional surety to ensure if he left to another state that he would have sufficient reason to bring him back and to find him, because he has been everywhere. We've been waiting for multiple other states and counties to take care of their cases on him, and that he's just been all over, racking up cases all over. And I would wager to say that Mr. Trober caused a bulk of his own problems by having cases out of Roland Park, Kansas, Olathe, Kansas, Kansas City,
How
Kansas.
long ago were those? Are they
He-
still pending?
Judge, he's trying to wrap up most of his cases everywhere he's got. I think we're one of the last places to have him finally.
Well, that's what
This is his only open and pending case, Judge.
that's what I thought he told me, just was it last week or whenever I saw him.
Your Honor, if I may input real quick, I only had
Yeah.
one case when I left here last year on an extradition hearing, and that was Missouri. And I've been in Missouri until I came back over here. I only had the one case, and that was a case from 2019. I just had to go finish my prison sentence on it.
All right, but you don't have anything pending anywhere that you know of.
I have no charges pending anywhere else.
All right, Ms. Gillette, I think we interrupted you. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, Judge. I mean, he racked up a lot quickly, and I know
About what time frame?
he has cases from 2018 from Johnson County. He has 2020 in Johnson County decisions, 2018 decisions, 2022 in Wyandotte County. Like, he wrapped up one case after another, and then came down here to Greenwood and had our case. And it's just been one case after another. Plus, he had the other case outstanding that he had to go take care of in Missouri. So he had a lot of cases to get caught up, get resolved, get himself back in place. But he moves around so quickly that he's just racked up all this stuff. Again, if he decides to leave the state, I want sufficient cash or professional surety to bring him back here.
Mr. Trober, you said when you get out, you'll live in Wichita. Where have you lived mostly during your life?
Kansas City metropolitan area. All of them other jurisdictions are mostly in the Kansas City metropolitan area, except for Shawnee County, which are 40 miles down the road, 40 minutes down the road.
What kind of charges were those?
I've had possession of firearm by convicted felon, theft charges.
Burglary?
I have a second degree non-person burglary out of Missouri from 2019.
Okay.
All of those cases are from 2019. The only reason there's a 2020 case number is because an amended complaint was filed.
Okay.
I haven't been in trouble since 2019.
Are you gonna have a job when you get out?
Yeah, I'm going to be working at the Restoration and Waterproofing Contractors, Inc. I used to work for them out of Topeka, and they're headquartered in Wichita. So my old boss told me just go in and apply and list him as a reference, and I'll get right on. So
I will modify your bond to $5,000, but you must wear EMD. And you're not to leave the state of Kansas.
hey, what is EMD?
That's that ankle monitor that tells me where you are. And keep it charged. I don't want any of this. The battery died. I didn't know it wasn't plugged in, whatever. The jail will have a number you can call for that. You'll have to pay for it, and I don't know how expensive it is, and I don't want to hear you griping that it's uncomfortable when you work and all of that. Because that's what I usually hear, but if you want out, if you want your bond down that low with everything that's been going on, then you're going to wear the bracelet and you're going to comply with all the rules for it.
Yes, Judge.
Anything else?
I don't think of anything else.
All right, we'll be in recess. You may go, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. That's your last one, Mr. McClendon.
Yes, it is, Judge.
All right, thank you. You're excused, both of you.